be on time. So
That's right.
I appreciate you. I kept looking at the clock. Okay, at this time, I'm going to call a meeting of the Zoning Commission to order. If you would silence all your cell phones and electronic devices at this time. This time, I'm going to ask one of our wonderful old-time members to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Pete Rumford, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please, sir. Thank you. This time, roll call. Please mark your computers if you're present.
Okay, everybody except Russell here.
Okay, everybody but Russell will be here, so we do have a quorum. I believe y'all all have a copy of the minutes of your previous meeting of February the 19th. So if there's no additions or corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve those. Moved by Sidney. Second by
Ms. Alfreda?
Miss Alfreda. Okay.
Curtis.
Miss Alfreda. Okay. All those in favor, mark your ballot aye. Yes. Okay. It's
Unanimous.
approved. Okay, correspondence.
We have none tonight, sir.
I have none. Okay, at this time, I'm going to open up the public hearing. File number 2019-02, rezoning from rural single-family 3 residential to residential minor at 2275 Rosedale Road for Mr. Mike Zito. Is anybody here to represent the plat? You could come up in, please state your name for the record and make sure you sign the tablet, please.
Good evening. My name is Mike Zito. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to ask for rezoning of this property to residential minor. I want to build a couple houses, one for me and one for my brother. Let's go build a house on this property.
Okay.
This house, this
That's
land
gonna be-
currently is a flag lot, I think, and it has a trailer on the front that I bought with the property, and that trailer's gonna be moved to the back of the property on the other side of the little road. And these houses are gonna be actually on the east side of the little gravel road that's going off LaPlace Lane.
Okay. That's gonna be on a little over 3 acres of land?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Ms. Green, Sidney, y'all familiar with that? spot?
Yeah, I went and looked
Carrie?
at it too, Mr. John, yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Okay.
So Mike, I'm just questioning, it's gonna be 2 lots, 3 lots? What do
Probably
you,
gonna be 3.
3 lots?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hopefully one of my kids will have the other one. I'm not positive yet.
Okay. Looks good, Ned. Are there any utilities there now?
No, sir.
Or you'll have to put
Yes, sir.
them in?
I'd have to put them in.
Okay.
So Kevin, as always, he'd come back later, we're doing the zoning now, and then the planning would take care of the utilities and the fire
Typically,
protection and,
typically a minor subdivision is gonna be administrative
right,
unless there's any waivers.
Exactly.
We'll determine that when he submits his plat, yes.
okay, just wanted to get it
Sounds
out there.
good. Anybody else on the commission have any questions for us?
Nope.
Okay. This time, anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Being none. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Okay. This time, I'm gonna close the public hearing for item number A. At this time, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll go ahead and
Moved by
motion
Carrie
for approve. Yep.
Densel and second by Okay, Kurt, okay. Thank you. So this time, please mark your ballot. Okay, that's been approved, and it's coming up at, when, next week?
Next Thursday.
Next Thursday, the 11th.
The 11th, so it'll be coming up again. Thank you. I'm gonna go through them one at a time in case y'all need to leave. Y'all can go. If y'all wanna stay, you're welcome to stay. Okay, at this time, I'll open up the public hearing again for file number 2019-03, rezoning from agriculture to rural single-family 3 residential. 9258 Highway 190 West for Mr. Clyde Ewing. Anybody here to represent that plat?
Good evening.
Hello.
My name is Clyde Ewing. I own that property on Highway 190, and I'd like to rezone the portion behind the industrial lots to residential. I plan on building a little one-street subdivision, roughly about 20 lots. I don't have a drawing, don't have a plat drawn up yet. I just have a conceptual idea. I own 106 acres. It fronts on 190. It's a 1,700 foot road frontage. It'll be a one-street subdivision that will actually exit onto 190 only.
Okay, and the lots will be off of one side of the road or both sides?
Off of both sides. The road will be directly in the center, and there'll be lots on the east side that go all the way to the woods, and on the west side that go all the way to Tiger Bayou.
Well, because the map I'm looking at looks like a long distance. I guess that's gonna be to the west, but a little short distance to the east, is that correct?
Well, the road's about in the middle, but I have a pond on the west side.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's open all the way to the woods on the east side.
Oh, okay.
There's an existing road that I built about 8, 9 years ago, right about where the subdivision street will run.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And I bought a permit, well, I got a permit from the state DOTD to put another pipe in on 190 when I build the road, I did that years ago, it just hadn't been moving real fast.
So you'll be putting in the road and utilities and everything back
I have to put in the road and all the utilities. And it'll probably be about 20 lots is the way I'm thinking.
Ms. Joy, are you familiar with that piece of ground? Okay.
Would you be able to get to it from Singleton?
You can't,
Go through, huh?
no. Singleton doesn't go all the way to my property. It stops, the cul-de-sac on Singleton stops before my property line.
Okay.
And there's no plans to tie into Singleton. I'll just put a cul-de-sac at the back of that road about 2,000 feet off of 190.
I got you.
Tiger Bayou's on one side.
And how big are the lots gonna be? You have any idea yet?
Probably gonna be a little over an acre when I
Oh,
was,
but it'd
you
be
know.
nice lots then. huh?
Yeah, they're gonna be,
Yeah, because he's going RSF 3, so.
You're thinking a country subdivision.
it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be,
Yeah, we'll get to that after y'all have y'all's turn.
Kevin, I have a question for you.
Anybody else up here have any questions or
Yeah,
comments?
Curtis does.
Do you know of any future Department of Transportation, like J-curves and stuff like that for access in and out of his subdivision?
We have not heard of any J-turn proposals where at this particular location. We've been talking LA1, LA415,
Okay.
but we haven't heard anything on that part of 190 that I am aware of. I know they did some out in Point Capee, closer to Livonia. I have not heard of anything coming back down this way. Not yet, no, sir.
I was kind of concerned about the traffic of getting onto and exiting your subdivision on 190.
they widened 190 about 15 years ago. Sullivan widened it and put a median in. I don't know if they'll allow a turn lane or not. I haven't approached them about it because there's a turn lane at Tiger Bayou and there's a turn lane at Grind Bayou. So I'd be too close together would be my,
At this
My
time, are
judgment.
there any turning lanes adjacent to where well, across the road from where your road's going in?
No, sir, they're
Or
gonna
they'll
have
have to go
to
down the
exit
road
to,
and
to the west.
Yeah.
And then there's a turn lane where they could make a U-turn right when you cross Tiger Bayou. But there's a crossing at Tiger Bayou with a deceleration lane going westbound where they could make a U-turn. And then there's also a deceleration lane when you turn on Grand Bayou. So they're so close together, I doubt that the DOTD would allow a turn lane in between those two.
But there's a spot there to get off the road to turn and not
Yeah.
being out in the middle of the road?
Yeah, there's actually a deceleration lane in the median
Oh, okay.
in both
that's better.
directions.
Oh, great, yeah, because when you stop out in the middle of 190, you're in trouble. But if you can get off the road like that, it'll be
Yeah.
all right. Okay, anybody got anything else? Ms. Green, Ms. Jackson? Okay. Hey, does anybody in the audience have any questions or comments? Thank you, sir.
Thank
This time I'm gonna close the public hearing for item number B. This time I'll entertain a motion to dispense with item number B. Okay, Ms. Jackson and Ms. Green?
Is that for approval?
Okay. Ms. Jackson made the motion, Ms. Green seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. I'll mark your ballot, that way you don't even have to say it. I'm gonna get used to this computer one day. Yeah, these computers got me mixed up.
It's always good to practice that, yeah, just in case.
It makes the evening go better. Okay, well, it's passed. There you go, okay, it's been passed, it'll come up next Thursday. Okay, at this time, I'm gonna open the public hearing up for item number C. File number 2019-04, rezone from agriculture to C 1.4 commercial. That's gonna be located at 2053 Rosedale Road. That's only 2 blocks down from
Mr. Mike?
Mr. Zito's, yeah. Port Allen for Ms. Bobby Coleman. Is anybody here to represent that?
Yes,
Oh, Bucky, you here to represent it? You want to tell us a little bit about it, please? Come up here and sign your name and tell us a little bit about what's going on. Yeah.
Or no, either,
You raise your hand that you're representing them.
Bucky Landry. She wants to sell that piece of property to Sammy Munson. And it's, I think it's 3.6 point something acres. And he wants to put it as commercial to, I guess, park his equipment on it. And we don't have any, objections to that.
Well, you live right in that area somewhere, don't you?
Right next door.
Right next door, okay.
yeah, Bucky
Well,
lives right,
My whole family
Right.
lives right
I
there.
yeah.
got you. Well, I knew you did, but I wanted to ask you the
Okay,
question.
you want to make it legal, huh?
Okay. Well, Ms. Green, Ms. Jackson, Sidney, y'all, you familiar with it?
Yep. Excuse me, can I ask a question? Mr. John, can I ask a question?
Sure.
This, what he's got it zoned for, it's just the C1, what is it, C14, and that fits what he wants to do, right? I just want to make sure.
We had a conversation with this gentleman here in our office
yeah.
about his plans, and we tried to find the right zone. And that's been several months ago, so I don't remember the details of the conversation, but we tried to find the right district. And I believe he can tell you more about what he intends to do, but we tried to match him up with the right zoning district. That's the heaviest commercial you can get without actually going into industrial.
Okay.
So there's not a lot you can't do in C 1.4 short of industrial.
Okay. Ms. John, I just want to say for the record, I talked to Ms. Bobby about this, and I followed up and talked to Bucky. And like Bucky said, his daughter lives there, his son, and then, so they all live right there, and they were all good with it, so.
They all fine with it? Okay. Thank you, Bob.
All right, man.
Okay, anybody else up here? Being none, anybody in the audience have any comments? Being none at this time, I'll close the public hearing. Okay. Motion by Mr. Kerry Densel, second,
Is that for approval?
That's for
Mr.
approval, correct.
second by Ms. Joy.
Sorry, I said.
It'd be recommended for approval. This time, mark your computer. Okay.
Now,
It had to be a 2/3 vote, and it's 100% vote for it, so it'll be coming up at the, council meeting next Thursday. Not this Thursday, but the next. Thank y'all. Okay, this time I'm gonna open up the public hearing for file number 2019-01, rezone from agriculture, rural, single-family 3. And this is gonna be for Rugon Road property. Rugon Road Property LLC. And this is gonna be on a 38-acre spot on Rugon Road.
Mr. John,
Yes, sir.
good evening, sir. Cletus Langlois from Pata Engineers and Surveyors. I'm here to represent the developers, which are Craig Gaucheraud and Derek Morrow, and I have both of them here with me today. I think you should have a copy of a drawing in front of you of a subdivision that we're planning on doing there. We're gonna call St. Claria Acres, and, St. Claria, I think that's what it's gonna be, I'm sorry, not the acres. And, so if you look at it, we're proposing to do a 38 lot subdivision on a tract of land that's just south and of, Section Road and west of Rugon Road. And if you look at it, the lots, most of them average around 38,000 square feet. They all over 125-foot frontage. And what we were planning on doing, we originally came and we were trying to keep it to where we could put a boulevard in here and kind of make this, instead of just having a one 24-foot wide road that goes in just with open ditches and stuff like that. We want to come in here, we're going to put a boulevard that'll be landscaped with some, some ornamental trees and some shrubs and those type of things. And we'll put a nice little entrance up in the front with a sign and those type of things. As you can see now, if you pass by the property, we're actually digging some ponds out in the front that's going to actually be up in the entrance, and we're using that dirt to build the property up. Originally, if you look at it, we were asking for a few variances, and let's just talk about the first one we're going to ask about. Is the first variance we're asking for is the square footage of the lots. Time out, yes, ma'am?
excuse me, this is the zoning. You're just, you're already in the planning, we gotta.
Well, I'm pretty sure this is all going to come up. Okay, well,
Well,
if
you
you want to go with the
will,
zoning,
but I've
then
gotta
we'll
be-
just stick with that. So this is the lots right here that you're seeing on here, and we're trying to get it to RSF 3. Thank you, Miss Lynn, I'm sorry. And, you know me, I'm long-winded, so cut me short, it's good. So we go into RSF 3, 38 lots, and I think you have the plat in front of you. I'll answer any questions you have.
I'm looking at the map, I'm trying to, where does it fall? You said it's at Rugon and.
You see where it says
Section, how's it
Rugon
fall
Road
with the-
Property LLC on
Is it
this?
where- across the street from the community center?
No, sir, it's south, it's south of Section at that point. If you look on the map that's in front of you right there, it's the one where the arrow is sitting on it right now.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, I'm just trying to get, now where's the, school gonna be? It's in that area too?
The school's gonna be to the right.
Okay,
School's right here, if you can
Yes.
see where the arrow is,
okay.
here, and this is the property.
So we're not far from the school, from the new school.
Well, then be a walking distance if the kids.
That's what we counting on, yes, sir.
That'd be perfect.
Not today's kids won't walk.
I wouldn't walk down.
Sorry, they
I
not,
don't think they're gonna walk that far.
they not walking. I'd like to hear a little bit about any kind of drainage study you've done.
Well, we've looked at the drainage, and just so happens we were part of the actual design team that actually did the school. So in doing the school, we had to go out and look at some of the drainage that was involved in this. There's quite a few different veins of drains that come from this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Miss Lynn doesn't mind, she could zoom in on our property a little bit, Miss Lynn. Okay, if you see right off to the west third of our property, there's a drainage ditch that goes across there. We're now going to take that drainage ditch and we're filling that drainage ditch in. And at the north part of our property, there wasn't a ditch that ran along the north line that tied into the bayou. It was just a small little ditch there. So we're now improving that now to an 8-foot wide bottom ditch that'll handle the water. The problem you were having with this is that culvert that was right there on this piece of property was a 36-inch culvert. When we did our drainage study and we looked at the calculations, the 2 culverts we're going to replace that with at the canal are 2 48-inch culverts. So that 36-inch culvert should have been a minimum of at least a 5 or 6 foot culvert. And in process of doing this, I don't have a pointer, but about a third of the way down from our north property line, there's a big cut. You can go see it right now. There's a big cut that goes down into the bayou. The reason being was the water was jumping this culvert, flowing across our property and finding its way into the bayou and cutting it. Thank you, ma'am.
I'm a old teacher. Taught your daughter.
Thank you, ma'am.
You taught my daughter? You did a great job, because she's a teacher also, so you led her in the right direction. But and where I'm talking about is up here. Well, let me see if I can get this. I'm not smart enough to operate this thing, I don't believe.
Press the button.
I am pressing the button.
Sometimes it's white and sometimes it's red.
Sometimes you have to twist it too.
Let's see if that'll work. It's just flipping
No,
on. But anyway,
nothing now.
I appreciate the try. I'm not smart enough to operate.
It was working.
Well, the white light is on, not the red. Thank you. But anyway, so what we did is now we've actually improved that ditch along the north side. We've also improved the ditch along the south side. Now, if Miss Lynn doesn't mind, she can zoom out just a little bit more.
Oh, out?
Yeah, make me. Oh, stop. Now, you see the piece of property below us that says McNeely? Look at the next one below it, Miss Lynn. Oh, look at that ditch. You see it right there? Somebody filled it in. So what was happening was the water that was making it to our south property line was going west, trying to get back into Stumpy. It cut it maybe about 15, 20 feet deep right there. It cut that ditch out. I mean, it just made it. It was finding its way there. So what's happening is you have this in multiple spots. Miss Lynn, if you don't mind, go to the front of our property. I think there's a piece of property. Okay, the piece of property right across our north, the street from us in the north, right above Mr. Bordelon right there, Mr. Sally, I think it is. Up.
Is that this one?
I want to go north.
North.
No, the other way. I want to go the other way.
Okay, Mr.
All right,
Smiley.
thank you. Now slide a little bit to the east. Okay, stop. You see that drainage ditch coming from the north of his property? It disappears on his property. Well, guess what? It's filled in. This was part of the problem with the school drainage. So we had to actually take the school drainage and we had to move it further to the east and catch that bigger bayou and come down Tiger Bayou that Clyde was talking about and come on back down through there. We had to take the school drainage completely away from this because people have already filled in the ditches where the drainage was supposed to go. So people are crying about drainage and saying, I got an issue with my drainage. The issue of drainage, you created some of this yourself. Mr. Sally does have a ditch that runs along his north property line that comes to the road. The culvert on the road is not sized properly. That culvert needs to be twice the size of what it is now. Now, we are improving that ditch from Rougon Road all the way back to Stumpy Bayou. And as I talked to the administration and told them, we would be glad for it. We've got a little bit of room for that water to come through us if he wants to, but he's going to have to get the highway department to change that ditch and stuff. Now, if you look where that ditch would continue on and it comes back to Rougon Road, it comes in right there, and as soon as it crosses Rougon Road, it's all underground drainage all the way down to where the parish just started digging that new ditch. Now, the parish did a great job of digging that ditch, but that ditch needs to carry on through where all those people have those culverts in front of their lot. So when they say that the drainage is not adequate, it's not that the drainage is not adequate. You filled the drainage in. You need to take those culverts out. We need bigger, wider ditches, and we need to have some flow. So we've looked, yes, ma'am. When this comes to this, we've looked at it. We've looked at it, and we've looked at it tremendously. Because one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to flood ourselves. You know, so that's one of the things that we did look at.
Well, it looks like you really know the drainage in that area, Cletus. Like I said, hopefully you can work with the parish and get some good drainage set up with this piece of property.
I hope so too, yes, sir. Because we've kind of opened their eyes on a few things that if you're not looking for these type of things, you won't see them. So, you know.
Let's just say construction begins for these houses and we see some new drainage problems. What happens then? Kevin, I want to direct this to Kevin, if that's okay.
Well, the first thing we try to do, Ms. Joy, is we try to avoid any.
Well, absolutely,
drainage.
I know, but I'm
Kevin,
trying to look down the road.
Kevin, could you come speak into the mic so we get you on the record?
So, You know, I'll give you an example. There is a subdivision that came under my watch that we did have some drainage problems. Luckily, those drainage problems were able to be resolved down the road by the drainage department. There were some remediation things they could do. This is down just north of Sugar Mill. This is a subdivision that Mr. Raymond Loop developed. For one reason or another, we ended up having some drainage problems out there, and we were able to get our drainage superintendent on it pretty fast and reroute some things and get that routed properly. So those issues should be worked out. That's one subdivision out of 20 that I was involved in.
Right.
On something like this, we will review their drainage calculations completely from start to finish and make sure they did the proper engineering they were supposed to do to accommodate all those drainage issues. We don't anticipate, certainly don't want any drainage problems.
Right.
But should there be drainage problems, we'll have to look at either doing upstream detention or downstream channel improvements, or on-site detention or on-site drainage improvements.
Stumpy Bayou is cleaned out by the parish. The parish takes care of Stumpy Bayou?
They do, yes, ma'am. And just to announce, you know, we did get a grant recently that stems from the 2016 floods. Those who are familiar with this area know this area was impacted in the 2016 floods. I myself live in Pecan Grove subdivision just north of this property. We have received a permission to proceed with phase 1 of about a $200,000 improvement proposal for Stumpy Bayou, all the way from where it enters the parish all the way down to where it drains into Choctaw. And we're going to follow that up with $600,000 worth of actual construction improvements as soon as phase 1 is complete.
So, a quick question with that in mind, how is that timeline, how's the time lapse on that with his development?
So we have been granted permission to proceed with phase 1 this year. I believe we'll have somebody under contract. So by the end of the year, we should have a good idea of some improvements we can make on Stumpy Bayou from where it enters the parish all the way down to Choctaw. And then next year, we should begin the construction improvements, assuming we can get all the right-of-ways and land acquisition to do those types of improvements.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Cletus, I have a
Thank you.
question.
Yes, sir.
The sewer system, will it be individual sewer system or?
Yes, sir. And I guess we can cover that now, Ms. Lynn, if you see, I opened a can. Okay, I got you. But anyway, you should have a letter in front of you that comes from the utility department, and it's just a letter of no objection. The main reason being is that right now there's quite a few sewer systems throughout the parish. And it's kind of like, if you read it, it'll say that West Baton Rouge Parish Natural Gas and Water System has no objection to allowing the development on Rougon Road to install individual private sewer instead of a public sewer. West Baton Rouge Parish ordinance requires developments of 40 or less lots under 1 acre to install private sewer systems. While the proposed development does not meet the 1 acre lot minimum, the proposed lot sizes are greater than 33,000 square feet. DHH allows private sewers on 22,500 square feet, which is just over half acre. This is a rural area with no public sewer nearby, and all adjacent homeowners are an individual private sewer system as is proposed by this development. In kind regards, Pam Cowan, Director of the West Baton Rouge Parish Gas and Natural Water System.
Yeah, that covers it. Thank you. Any other questions from up here? Being none, any other questions from the audience? Okay, if you would, we're gonna have a 3-minute time limit, so please come up here and let us hear what you're saying. If somebody ahead of you has already covered what you're covering, please understand that and move on to something that we might have a different outlook for. Okay.
My name is Gwen Laviolette, and I live down Rougon Road, and I just wanted to know what kind of restrictions were going to be on the buildings, the houses there. Are there any restrictions, Craig?
Okay. I'm gonna get back to what I said. Let's get
Yeah, 'cause
everybody to come up here and speak into
Cletus Langwell, I'll speak on that. There will be restrictions, yes, ma'am. It'll be in nothing less than 1,800 square feet. Also, there will be some, some different type of restrictions on, we're gonna cover some of the covenants that are, cover maintenance and those type of things of the subdivision. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Molly Hall. My property adjoins this
Could you sign
property.
the list, please?
My property adjoins this property in the back. My problem is drainage because with the parish taking Stumpy, I have lost 25 to 30 feet of property in the back because of erosion. And I had my property surveyed last year at the end of the year because of something came up. And I've had Mr. Oquan and Mr. Bergeron Berthelot came out. But they don't seem to want to do anything, but I'm worried about, is there any more drainage going into Stumpy at that corner? Because I have a side ditch that is as deep as Stumpy for drainage. And my property doesn't drain there. It's supposed to go towards Stumpy. And I've got erosion on that side, and I'm really concerned about this. And I'd just like to know, are they adding more drainage into Stumpy by me? And are you going to clean that out? Because I'm losing property. And like I told Mr. Berthelot, your whatever you call it, right-of-way has eroded. And I'm just aggravated. And I thought I was going to get a map like that. But they didn't send it. They told me they were going to send it with my letter.
Yes,
but they
ma'am.
didn't. And I'd just like to know what is going to be done. And I don't want to lose any more property.
I don't blame you. Well, thank you, ma'am. But I think most of the conversation today has been on drainage in that area, so everybody's concerned, wanting to make sure if they are gonna subdivide, there will be proper drainage. But I gotta say, Mr. Slater showed us where several of your neighbors are filling up the canals going through their property, which is stopping the water from being able to drain. And I'm like you. I mean, when it goes to eroding your property and you're paying property tax, you don't want your taxes to go into a ditch. So I understand you got a valid concern, and like I said, I'm sure they're going to take that into consideration when they consider the drainage for this park right here, if you're adjacent to them, like you said.
Well, I hope they do. They
Okay.
don't seem to
Thank you,
care
ma'am.
about it.
Well, I can't take any more comments from you till you back up here at the mic. I'm sorry.
Ms.
Thank you,
Don,
ma'am.
Cletus Langwell again. I can't speak for Mr. Pee Wee or for Mr. Dane Oquan, but I will speak for us. We're not adding any more water that's not already going to Stumpy. And one of the problems she's talking about is exactly what I was talking about. If you don't mind, Ms. Lynn, if you could kind of zoom in on her property, you can see there was a couple of fingers of those bayous that got filled in and now have ditches running on the north and south sides of her property. So what you end up doing is you're adding that velocity into those ditches, which aren't big enough to handle that water, and this ground is very sandy, and it eats it up. Just what we told you was happening on our south property line. So what we're doing, we're putting some drop culverts in there to kind of slow that water down, to slow that from happening. Because right now, we have to take care of all of the water that's coming to us because our neighbor to the south has blocked it. We can't send any more south on him because he's filled it in. So the water has to go down our south line or down our north line into Stumpy. Now, it was already going into Stumpy at some point, but at this point right now, we're just improving that. But again, you can see on this drawing, on Miss Hall's place, there was a bayou that came across there and they got filled in and they put ditches along the north and south property line that are inadequate for that type of flow. And I was right at that north property line of hers matches with our north property line. There's a pipeline that crosses right there, and that ditch on her side is very deep, and there is sediment that's gotten out in the Stumpy that's come out of that ditch. So, you know, yes, and that is a problem. That's some sandy land out there, and if you narrow those ditches down and you try and get that velocity through those narrow ditches, it's just going to eat it into that ground and eat it into that ground until, you know, you're going to lose a lot of property at that point.
Do you know if those are parish ditches or?
Stumpy definitely has a parish, and we're definitely making sure that we're rededicating the ditches inside of ours back to the parish and making sure that we do that on our side. I'm pretty sure this ditch that came across us, if you notice with going north, it looks like it's been cleaned out a few times. So that's actually, I think that's one of the L ditches, huh? It's the L3 or something like that. I think that's the L3 or something like that. So the parish probably had a easement on it at one time. And just to kind of add on to this, it has nothing to do with this, but to talk about what's here, Mr. Garrison Landry, who is the neighbor to the south of Miss Hall, just left my office yesterday complaining that he bought this piece of property, can't build on it because he said it same thing, the water's got nowhere to go. So we're about to do a survey for him to tell him how to fix his. So we'll correct something again.
Thank
He's
you,
gonna have to
Steve.
put ponds though. So
I'm not trying to cut you off, but they had a man behind
I'm
you
good,
to
I'm
make a
good.
comment.
Thank you. My name is John Barker, and I'm representing 13 Astor, a piece of property that 2 backs up to this particular development proposed. And I heard the gentleman say that there's several concerns from these people, and I'll try to keep it brief. And let me start, I'm indifferent. I'm neither for or against this development. But I heard the gentleman say when he opened up that he's digging ponds to raise his level of the property. Well, my experience, when you raise the level, that water's got to go somewhere else. So that's a concern. I know this property in the front has held water traditionally in the past. So another thing that I'd like this body to consider, there's a new school coming here. They're closing 2 other schools. This is not going to be the only development here. So when you take into consideration the drainage, you may want to take into the master plan of the future development here and maybe size it as that. And we all know sizing and numbers doesn't always size with Mother Nature. So that's just a suggestion and that I offer that this body would do, and I'm sure you all already have taken that into consideration. A couple of, look, I'm representing people from Atlanta, St. Louis, New Orleans, Virginia, Baton Rouge, and the rest in Plaquemine, so they had a few other concerns. Does this affect in any way the zoning of our property, our current zoning, or the taxation of that? Because ours is currently agricultural, and we'd like it to stay that way at this time, so that wouldn't affect anything like that. And it wouldn't affect your property taxes. Pardon?
It probably is agriculture at this point.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no, but the track that our track, it would
That's what I'm
remain,
talking about.
stay
It's probably
that, so it would
agriculture.
stay that way, right, until
Yes, sir.
something happened like that?
It stays the same.
Okay.
We're acting on just this property.
And to
Okay.
answer your question about I get confused between retention and detention, but the pond is a point where the initial flow of rain goes to the pond
Okay.
to save it from getting in the ditches and flooding. And then as the water goes down in the ditches, the pond will release its water. So it's a safety device is what a pond is for.
Okay. I understand
If I
that.
make myself clear. to
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes, sir. And look, again, I'm not for or against it. I'm here with some concerns about our property, and we don't want water running from this property to our property as
Which property
the
do
lady.
you represent?
The Barker track,
Where
which
that at,
is
Ms.
next to Pecan on Rougon.
Next to the corner on River.
the green liquor one is laying out
Oh, lot
Yes.
17 it says.
Where is it at?
Okay.
Right here.
Yes.
Oh,
That one
okay,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah, I see it, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
And that really sums it up for me. Again, I'm all for commerce and development. I just don't want it to be at somebody else's toll.
I got you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much for your comment.
Thank you.
Mr. John, I'll answer a couple of things. I think I've covered the drainage quite a bit. Yes, we are adding some fill out there too, but we are taking that into account. There's 40 acres of drains out there right now. It's gonna be 40 acres of drain again, and that we're all the water, like the ditches that existed before we started out there were kind of split on the property lines. We've dug them all the way on our side to make them bigger. And like I said, we've increased the size of them tremendously. Everybody's welcome to go out there and look at them, and they all know what was there before. As far as the zoning, no, this wasn't. I mean, the assessor's thing is more or less what you use your property for. Until he changes it, subdivides it, or does something different to it, or rezones it, his taxes won't change. Now, his property values may go up once we start building some really nice houses back there, but other than that, taxes won't go up.
Could I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
You said you were digging the ditches on your side, so those will be parish ditches, you said?
Yes, ma'am. They
So
all
those
have
will be
easements
kept-
on them. We
kept
talked to
up by the
Mr.
parish.
Dane, and he's reviewed the map, and we've put in a 15-foot servitude off the top bank on those ditches for the parish to maintain them.
Okay.
Excuse me, one thing I just forgot on my notes is, you mentioned 1,800 square feet homes minimum. Is there value to any of these homes?
Okay, now, we're getting on a one-on-one conversation.
Okay.
Could you please speak into the
Yes,
mic?
I'm sorry,
again,
I'm
please?
sorry. I'd like to ask the gentleman if he has a value to the homes and if there are any restrictions against mobile homes. That was another question.
No,
that they
I
had.
believe they said earlier they're gonna be 1,800 foot.
Okay, 1,800 foot, okay, and no mobile homes?
No mobile home. We'll
No.
put that on the record.
He's
Okay.
going, he's going RSF 3.
That's not
No.
a plus. Yes.
Anybody else? Okay.
Hi, I'm Dana Swanson, and I live on Rugon Road. Actually, the house that I live in, my husband's grandparents built that house in 1952. So that house is actually the second house on Rugon Road, when Rugon Road was still dirt. When I've lived there 40 years. This is what we had, was this size ditch, okay? We are down to this. These little bitty, small, do you see the difference? Okay, in 2015, they closed in the ditch in front of me, and I am the second house from this property. Cecil Swanson, coming on Rugon Road, headed towards 190. Do you see? I'm right by Allen.
Yeah.
Ramey Villery. Okay, Ramey Villery and the house next to me, Allen. My husband's uncle built that house, so that was in 53. Okay, all three of these houses, since they have closed this ditch up in 2015, has pulled water back on us. All three of our houses, the floors have buckled. I have pictures of all of this. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
The floors have buckled because now you're taking water from the road, it comes in and it's put those three houses in basically a bowl because they were originally there in 52. So as time has gone on, the roads have been built up, and then when you closed that ditch from where this property is starting right here, down to past Tammy Merritt's, and then it opens back up where they just reopened all that ditch up going to 190, which is great. You created a problem. Now every time it rains 2 to 3 inches, I get 2 to 3 inches in my garage. I've never had that. This is what the front yard looks like in the driveway every time it floods. It doesn't even flood, it's 2 inches. Then I'm going to show you what happens to the backyard, which is worse. So my concern is I don't have a problem with the subdivision. I have a problem with if you've got this much water on me now, after you closed in that ditch,
Yes, ma'am.
what are you going to do to me when I've got 40 more houses right there?
Well, that's gotta be,
Who
I agree
closed
with
in the
this thing,
ditch?
and
Did
I
the
understand
parish?
it's gotta be.
Who closed in the ditch?
Right, you keep
Who?
referring
The
to
parish.
they.
The parish
Okay.
closed it in. Let me tell you, I came and I complained about it because I have this much water standing in my backyard. I would have thought that my house maybe was the problem. It's 1952 house, okay? But when I talked to my neighbor Alan and Ramey Villery, which is my uncle next door, all three of those houses, the floors have buckled. I have 3 layers of real oak flooring because it was built in 52. I got an estimate, $20,000 to replace my floors. They're still not replaced. And the water still stands. And that was, oh, I'm sorry.
okay.
So that is my complaint.
Mighty good. Thank you, Ms. Swan.
So the
Okay, now
parent-
you're right next door to where they opened up that subdivision back in there? Is there,
Okay,
isn't there a
across the street.
subdivision next to your house over in there?
I'm on the same side as this property.
Right there where the arrow, you see it. And I'm gonna address this, Mr. John. If you remember in my opening statements, I talked about those culverts being in that. None of our water goes there. Right now, all of our water runs from, we're now taking all the water away from Rugon Road, we're taking it back to Snuppy. We're taking all our water, we're going the extra mile to grade our property to do that. Reason being is the ditches along, and I said that because when we looked at the drainage, we looked at everything before we even let these guys purchase the property. We look at all of that stuff. The ditches along the front that are filled in, those culverts need to come out.
I
And
agree.
That ditch that runs from there, that runs off of that angle, and goes through Mr. Sally's property, that needs to be redone. That needs to come back, and that finger needs to come back through there and stuff. Because what happens is when it crosses the road, it goes underneath the road, there's a culvert under the road. If you look, there's a driveway that's kind of at an angle right there. That culvert comes under right underneath that driveway, and it goes back, and it's culverted all the way back to where she's talking about. Well, what happens at that point is that you end up, there's so much, that's a long run of culverts. I don't even know what size they were, I didn't get down to look at them, and we didn't check them out or whatever, but it
That's
does,
about
it
15
does
minutes.
back up. We will not put any water, none of our water goes that way, so this is not a concern for us.
Is
It's
her
gonna
home
be a
right
concern for
behind the
back.
feed store?
She's on the opposite side of the road from the feed store.
Opposite
She's
side of the
I
road?
know you talking about Mr. Swanson's subdivision that he did.
Yeah, that's
behind
not the
Kisner,
Swanson,
But she's up and behind, up and over on the other side. She's right close to us. She's only a few properties below us.
I'm
Oh, okay.
2 below him.
I got you.
Okay,
But I'll be honest with you,
See
none of
right
our
here?
water will go that way. We've already taken care of that on our drainage.
right, the other Swansons are on the other side,
Okay.
which is kin to me too. But the house that I live in, like I said, is been there since 52. It was the second house on the road. And I've lived there 40 years. I've never had any problems until 2015 when they closed in that ditch.
They do some mess ups with the drainage. I gotta go, I mean, I watched them put in 1,000-foot, a 3-foot culvert and a 12-foot ditch.
Well, I
And
have,
it flooded everything north of 190 in Lobdell with that act, so I know what you're talking about as far as
correct, and they
help
came out,
drainage for one person and hurt a whole bunch of other people, so.
Right,
I
and they-
appreciate that, and like I said, they're gonna take that in consideration, make sure none of the water comes your way, am I right, Lita?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So,
Already
I-
looked at.
thank you,
excuse,
man.
excuse me, Mr.
Okay, see
John,
it?
is there any contingency to work on this ditch that she is referring to? I mean, I just wanna,
I mean, I
Yeah, I
have,
would- Yeah, I mean, I can certainly relay that to the parish president. I would also encourage her to come to the council meeting next Thursday. Pee Wee is very good. I've seen him do this 100 times. When things are raised in these hearings, Pee Wee's sitting there taking notes. And I
You
can
need to
certainly
do
relay
that.
it to the parish president. I would
You need to
invite
do
you to
that.
come back next Thursday and express those same concerns to the council next Thursday.
I have tons of pictures and I can show you how
But have you
bad.
spoken to anyone before?
with the
Barry
administration,
Huggins
Yes.
is who I talked
with
to.
the administration?
And he'll be, Mr. Huggins will be
Thank
here, should
Okay.
be here at the
Thank
council
you,
meeting.
Kevin.
Right.
All right.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Swanson.
Cletus, the work that y'all did so far, when was that done?
The work as far as, I'm sorry, Mr. Sid, as far as the dirt work,
Yeah,
we just started digging, about a week or two ago. We had actually went out and kind of cleaned the ditches up before that because we were trying to de-water the property because the ditches were in such bad shape and with everything that was blocked up. We went out a few months ago and dug those ditches out and kind of cleaned them up and getting that started.
so they haven't been through a rain yet since y'all did your work?
We got a couple little rains, but we're not, like right now, we're still in the process of finishing up the drainage and stuff like that. As of right now, the only drainage we've affected is the drainage on the north and the south, and we filled that ditch in the middle, and we've kind of cleaned up around the front to where we get no water to go to the rear now. When we do the subdivision, we'll actually have some interior ditches and those things like that, and road ditches and stuff,
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank y'all. At this time, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Okay, we need a motion and a second.
And this is on the zoning, folks, not the
This is
subdivision,
zoning.
this is strictly the zoning.
This is for the zoning.
Ms.
Motion
Ms.
by
Hobbins,
Joyce,
is
second
that-
by Curtis.
Is that a yay or a
Yeah,
nay? Yay.
Okay. Motion by
with
Joyce,
the
second to Curtis.
contingency that everything's, that we discussed is still kept in order, right?
Now, that's subject
All
to
the
the
drainage,
variances.
all that,
It's
right?
subject to the variances, huh, Joyce?
And,
Wait.
and everything we talked about with drainage.
No, we're in zoning.
We're not there yet, Mr. John. We're not there yet. Okay, yes,
Okay.
all right,
If you would, mark your computer at this time.
okay.
Okay. Thank you, Cletus. This will be
Thank y'all.
coming up Thursday a week.
Yes, sir.
Okay, at this time, Ms. Jackson? Motion adjourned by Ms. Jackson, second by Ms. Green. would mark your ballot. Okay. Meeting's adjourned.
Give me just 1 minute, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
You got plan, but you see, you can't do planning.
At this time, I'm gonna open up the meeting of the Planning Commission. I believe y'all all got a copy of your previous minutes. Could y'all please keep the talking down till you get outside,
We're not done,
please?
guys. We're not
We got
finished with
planning.
our meeting. We have to have our planning meeting. Thank you so much.
And Pete, thank you for coming.
You go ahead and roll with the minutes if you want, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I've opened up the Planning Commission. I believe y'all all received a copy of the minutes of your previous meeting. If there's no additional corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve those. Ms. Green and Carey. Please mark your ballot.
Mr. Sid, you want to approve the minutes?
Sure. Okay, the minutes are approved. Correspondence.
We have none.
We have none. Well, at this time, then, I'm going to open up the public hearing for file number 2019-01. Plat of St. Clara Estates, lots 1 through 38, lots PD-1 and lots PD-2, being the re-subdivision of the TJ Farms LLC property located in section 20. And this is going to be for growth development. Okay, Cletus again?
Yes, sir. Cletus Langlois, Pot Engineers and Surveyors. I'm here to represent Mogos Development. And again, I have both of the developers here, Craig Gauchon and Derek Morrow. Okay, you should have the map in front of you now that we can talk about.
Now we're
All
allowed.
right, so now you're looking at the lot, you're looking at the lots, and you're looking at the road and everything. And I guess since we've kind of talked about the drainage, if you look on there, you'll see those servitudes that Ms. Joy was asking us about, and you'll see how we've put those on there. And normal fashion, 15 feet from the top bank of the ditch is what Mr. Dane asked for. So we have those. We do show water and gas as attentively on here, and we show fire hydrants and street lights and those type of things also. Let's talk about the waivers that we're gonna need. First off, if you look, the property's not quite, from front to back, is not quite about 2,500 or 2,300 feet deep, something like that. So your ordinance calls for a street every 800 feet. So we have one at 800 feet. But then if we put another one at 800 feet, we wouldn't have another 800 feet to the rear. So what we've done is that your ordinance also asks that we have a street with a cul-de-sac at the end. So we made the street with a cul-de-sac at the end, and we attached side streets to it. So that we can have a little bit better use of the property that backs up on the stumping, instead of having some kind of a triangle-shaped, narrow lots at the front, wide lots at the rear for the cul-de-sac lots. We've now got some more rectangle, square-shaped lots that could kind of fit a little home in there better. Okay, so now let's talk about that. I need two variances right there. I need one so I can extend that road. Instead of being at 1,800 feet, it's going to be at 1,400 feet. Okay, that's the first variance, which is for the lot sizes. I mean for the block sizes. Two, you call for no T turnarounds except for on a minor subdivision. Well, Kevin and I have kind of discussed this, and we've got the cul-de-sac in. You can see we have the cul-de-sac in. It meets the ordinance and everything, but I've connected that street to it. So at this point, that kind of creates a side street T turnaround. So I'm going to need a variance on that, okay? The third variance I'm going to need is, based upon Ms. Pam's letter, is that since I'm not going to be allowed to put sewer in and stuff, I need a variance on the number of lots. Because really and truly, if you read the ordinance, she kind of wrote a letter saying 40 or less, but your ordinance says, once I go over 20, I need to have a sewer system. So I need a variance on the number of lots, not on the size, of stuff, but they're 125 feet. The state requires me to be 125 by 22.5. Your zoning requires me to be 100 feet wide by, I think it's 22.5 also, right?
That's the square footage.
Right, the square footage. So, my square footage is 38,000. I'm over, all of them over 125 feet wide and stuff. So those are the three variances that I know of, Kev. And did I explain the side street good enough for you? I know you wanted to talk about it. If you want to talk about it, that's fine. And,
Yeah, because I won't be here at the meeting on the 11th. One of the waivers that he doesn't have listed on there is going to be from 105-36. So Ms. Lynn, if you can please make sure it gets on there before the
put your own numbers in.
council meeting. It's 105-36. There's a few lots on that. He does have the cul-de-sac, I will say that. The dimensions for the cul-de-sac are there. There's a few lots in there that could be in jeopardy of not receiving school bus services. And that was my biggest concern. We don't want a brand new young family buying a lot. They find out on the first day of school that the school bus can't pick the kids up. I think possibly we would put a note on the plat for those particular lots, just kind of a buyer beware thing for those lots. I'm not saying they won't pick the kids up there. It's just a possibility they may not pick the kids up on those little stub out streets. That was my biggest concern when we met yesterday. And again, that's going to be section 105-36. So if you were to approve that waiver and him possibly put a note, buyer beware, on those particular lots, that satisfies my concerns on that.
Okay. So, and that was one of the things we did discuss with administration yesterday, and we did discuss with Mr. Pee Wee and stuff, that the bus can make the turnaround. That turnaround meets all your ordinance and everything. Look, and one of the things I use to kind of justify that is my grandson lives at the end of a cul-de-sac. There's 5 houses on that cul-de-sac. All 5 of us grandparents meet at the main street to pick them up and drop them off from the bus.
That's what we were discussing.
Right. So it's about a 175-foot walk if they had to go there, you know, and stuff, because the lot's 165. You know, if you go a little bit further, it's 170, 175. So, you know, and the garbage truck won't be a problem because he's going to come in, pull down there. He picks up off the right side anyway, so he'll pull in garbage, backing up, garbage. When he gets the last one, he pulls out. So, you know, but we still need that waiver. So that's still one of the waivers I need. So I need 3 waivers. I need number of lots, T turnaround, and the length of the block. Instead of being 800, it's 1,400. I'm still having 2 side streets. I just extended it a little bit further so I can make those lots in the back a little bit more usable.
I have a question on that cul-de-sac. In the center of it, what is your plan? Is it just going to be a little grassy area, or is it going to be...
We may drop a street light in there, or we may drop a tree. So, because the boulevard's going to have some, like, maybe crepe myrtles, shrubs, or something like that. So we may just put a little bit of landscaping in. I'll be honest with you, I had originally just made it all asphalt because a couple of them we did like that, and the bus ladies kind of liked it like that. But then they came back to me and said, take that out, because she said I tend to oversteer, and I get caught where I got to back up. She said if I got that roundabout, I know I got to go around it. She said it gives me that visual to go around it. So it'll be landscaped, there'll be grass, maybe a street light or something like that in it.
I was just concerned about what you were saying about the school children meeting, and possibly if there's some sort of like little meeting place or gazebo there and a safe place for them to meet. It was just a suggestion or an idea.
We'll look at it. We're going to look into it and see what we can do. We still haven't gotten that far.
That needs to be explained to people purchasing those lots. That, you know, that may not be a place where the bus could...
Right. And that's kind of what Kevin... you have a buyer beware note that you put on your minor plats about certain things. Right. We'll just tweak that a little bit. We'll get Lou Delahaye to look at it and stuff to make sure that we're not stepping on anything from the school board or from the parish in that regard. Because, you know, I mean, it's only going to be 2 lots actually. The other ones, the bus is actually going to pass right in front of the other ones. So the 2 in-lots. Yeah.
Mr. John, I missed Mr. Curtis's comment. Can you say that again, the one before this one?
I was just curious if it becomes an issue for the safety of the children going from those lots, if it's possible to put like a safe gazebo or something meeting there. We're at the turnaround at the cul-de-sac.
And there will be a homeowners association. So if it gets beyond us to that point, then the homeowners association can step forward and do something if they feel they need to. You know.
That's
so,
a good point. Good point. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions up here or comments? Being not anybody in the audience?
I have a question. I just want to make sure this plat, if we approve it, these lots can't get any smaller.
No, ma'am. No,
Just
ma'am.
want to double check.
Yeah, right.
Because there are 290.
You're gonna approve them. So when you approve them today, they stuck like this. This is actually a preliminary plat. We can make changes between now and the final plat, but if I do, if it's a major change, I'm back in front of you.
Right.
If it's a minor thing and it's like I'm not changing the size of the lots, I may change a word or something like that. Kevin and them approve that in their office through the administrative part, but any changes to the actual mathematics of it will be. Now, you all know the next step after you approve this, then we start making plans, and then those will be submitted to Kevin and them for approval and stuff like that. So we still have that phase of that to go through. We're just now getting rezoned and getting our plat approved, so we know what our lot configuration is going to look like, and our street
I
configuration.
just want to make sure it's country lots.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I'm from the country. I know what people want out there. They want people who want to live in the country as country people. You know, not little tiny lots, and then they want to change the agriculture around them and
Right.
all those sorts of things.
I think
So,
your guy made a good point
you know.
a little while ago when he came up here about the school. I think you're gonna get some new blood in that area. I think you get some young families that want to come in there, want to be part of that new school system, have their kids go to that school. You know, it's one thing we can be proud of in West Baton Rouge Parish is the school system. So, you know,
Okay.
and stay out on that side from the traffic.
Anybody else have any
Amen.
comments or questions? Thank you again, Cleta.
Well, this is John. I want to thank y'all. It's been a while since I've been in front of you, and I want to thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm gonna close the public hearing. I'll entertain a motion. Ms. Joy?
Sorry. That's for approval.
Okay, Ms. Joy.
That's
is-
for approval.
For approval with the three
With the
waivers that he's
the variance,
requesting.
yes,
Three variances.
Okay,
that were asked for.
and carries through. Okay.
Okay. At this time, I'm gonna ask you to mark your ballot. Okay. It'll be coming up next Thursday, Cleta.
Thank y'all.
Okay, item number B. I'm gonna open up the public hearing again for item number B. An ordinance to amend and reenact sections 105-40, improvements, Article 2, minimum design standards, Chapter 10, 105, Chapter 105, subdivisions, and Article 2, stormwater management, Chapter 106, site planning, of Part 3, Unified Development Code of the West Baton Rouge Parish Code of Ordinances to require compliance with federal and state erosion control regulations for locally permitted construction activities. Okay, Kevin, you gonna handle that?
I'm going to try to, Mr. John. I'll try to end the night on a fairly easy note. The ordinance you have before you relates to subdivisions in particular, such as the one you just heard. Anything dealing with zoning, any ordinance change to zoning, we have to come before you. Anything dealing with subdivisions, we've traditionally come before you as a courtesy before we send it on over to the parish council. The ordinance you have in front of you tonight is dealing with stormwater quality. We just heard a lot about stormwater quantity, but now we're talking about stormwater quality. As you know, every 10 years, the census is conducted. So with the 2010 census, for the first time, West Baton Rouge was considered part of the urbanized area of Baton Rouge. Well, in some aspects, that's a good thing. Being part of the urbanized area opens you up to federal grants that you weren't previously eligible for. In some aspects, it means more regulations. And one of those regulations deals with stormwater quality. Because West Baton Rouge Parish owns, operates, and maintains a stormwater system, we are responsible for making sure that everything that goes into that stormwater system doesn't lead to any further pollution of our canals and eventually drain out to the intercoastal canal, what have you. This particular ordinance is addressing erosion, I believe, and it says very simply, in order to conform with federal and state standards related to local stormwater quality, as well as to ensure that the parish complies with this participation in the state of Louisiana's general permit for municipal separate storm sewer systems, all applicants for subdivisions of land other than minor and administrative subdivisions shall submit a copy of an approved stormwater pollution prevention plan. If you were to drive out and look at this subdivision that just came before you tonight, you'll see they had that silt fencing along Rougon Road. That's to keep that silt from washing off into the roadside ditches, which is considered a pollutant. So again, this ordinance is requiring, we already do that anyway, but it's requiring applicants to submit that stormwater plan to us for approval as part of their construction plan package. There's some pre-construction things that they have to do, and then there's also some post-construction things that they have to do, meaning they shall submit a plan to manage post-construction stormwater quality. That includes one or more of the following best management practices: retention basins, infiltration basins, porous pavement, vegetative solutions such as grassy swales. We are still in the infancy stages of being part of an urbanized area, so this is all still new to us, but when DEQ reached out to us, they pretty much required that we adopt something like this and start enforcing it. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I know that was a lot. Would appreciate your support on this.
Okay, so any time somebody comes to build a home in these individual lots, they'll have to put that fencing around?
No, sir, not houses. Now, it depends on what size the lot is. Now, I think anything over 1 acre would require the silt fencing. This site, because it's whatever, 20 plus acres, require the silt fencing.
Oh, okay.
But not individual homeowners, no, sir. Now, individual homeowners are required to do other things, such as make sure their septic tanks are in order and not discharging raw sewer. And we do have a separate process we'll be using to enforce that a little more strict than we've done in the past. You know, having folks report when they see raw sewer discharging in our canals, we have to be more proactive on things like that.
Oh, okay.
Is there
Anybody?
is there anyone, well, this is about the raw sewage stuff. I know we have different things that people have to do, a MODAD and all that sort of stuff. Anybody go back and check whether that's being used properly, maybe a year later, 2 years later?
DHH is typically, you know, we have a parish sanitary, and it is their job to inspect those individual treatment plants. We inspect our own, so any package plants that the parish owns, we inspect and maintain the effluent standards on those. But individual homeowners, that's DHH, that's supposed to ride around and look for those.
And how often are they supposed to do that?
I think they're just supposed to make regular field visits. I really couldn't tell you a frequency, but now the parish is going to be more directly involved because we permit all of our storm sewer systems. We will have to work hand in hand with DHH. So if you know of any violations, call us and we'll send an inspector out there to document.
Okay, I was just wondering because, just wondering.
Yes, ma'am. It's going to be an issue. All these additional regulations that are coming from the federal and state government that we now have to comply with.
Yeah.
We're growing.
Yeah, because when you have all the little individual MODADs, well, that's every individual little pump that can go kaput. But it, like I said, the parish has about 30 different subdivisions and other things that they've got to take care of, you know, so.
Right.
Port Allen, they've just got one. The parish has over 30 right now, so that they take care of, and then you get to the individual lots. Okay, anything else, Kevin? Any other questions?
Questions?
Being none, I'll entertain a motion. Oh, I'm gonna close the public hearing.
And if you vote in favor of this, it'll go to the council for next Thursday.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there a motion, George? Did you make a motion? Oh, okay, Ms. Alfreda. Curtis, okay. Motion by Ms. Jackson, second by Mr. Dakota, that it be approved. Please mark your ballot at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, any other business?
No, sir.
Okay, Ms. Jackson? Okay, second. Ray? Okay, all those in favor, mark your ballot. I want to thank y'all for making an effort to get here tonight. It's been a while since we had a meeting.
This is off the cuff joke at you. Planning and zoning can work
It's good seeing everybody anyway.
We did both at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Hey, Jeff. We just finished up.
You must have
Oh,
left the
yeah,
clock on the wall.